And we are live. This is Cameron Marceau and Sridhar Yedavali doing another awesome episode of MyFriendsAreAwesome.com because our friends are awesome. And we went international again.
Yeah.
International. Though, I mean, our guest today is in Mexico, and you know, Mexico's not international. It's like America Junior, right?
No.
This is Melissa Wehri.
Stole her.
That's right. We're she's talking to us from Sayulita, Mexico.
Hola.
Hola.
¿Cómo están?
Doing okay. How are you doing?
Muy bien.
So did you
Chicago Mexican accent?
Yeah. So were you fluent in? Did you take Spanish before?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I took a year of Spanish in college.
Okay.
But
that could get you to the bathroom.
I was not a good student.
Okay.
I was not a good Spanish student.
Okay.
And so, but it's still in the back of my mind, and it's helped a ton. It's
Okay.
like the basics are still there. But the best thing is just to be in the country and to be forced to use the language. So
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. So we said goodbye in the early 90s, never to see each other ever again because that's the way the world was back then.
Yeah.
You know, you said goodbye to your friends, and then you'd lead separate lives. And, you know, who cares? If you wanted to write a letter, you had to use paper.
Right.
So what happened to you afterwards? We heard that you became part of the Missoula crew.
I did.
And you made it. You like hung on. You stayed there.
I did. I was the only one. And I feel a little bad about the Missoula thing because it was kind of my idea. I think I might have been the only one that had ever been to Missoula. And we had narrowed it down to Seattle, Portland, and Missoula, and I was like, we should move to Missoula. It's awesome. And then
explain the whole Missoula crew. I mean, give us from inception. You guys are sitting in the cafeteria. It's like 2 weeks before graduation, and you know, or however it starts. I mean, get us through that background story.
I think we were hanging out in Williston, and I think we literally marked off states out west that we didn't want to live in.
Idaho. Wyoming.
And that left Washington, Oregon, and Montana.
Okay.
And I had just been on a big road trip through Montana the summer before my senior year, and loved it. I was scared of bears, but I loved it. And something about Missoula, I think it's a nice size for somebody like me because I came from a small town, and then I went to a small town, small college.
Right.
It felt safer to me and like an easier kind of entry thing than a big city like Portland or Seattle. And I lucked out, and I got a job right away. I got the job that I wanted, actually, right away. After a month of working at Taco Bell with Sue, we both worked at Taco Bell. I got a job at Planned Parenthood.
Oh, okay.
And that was really awesome, but really stressful, too. And while I was at Planned Parenthood...
Isn't Montana a red state? And so back in those days, although it was less militant as it is now, there was still that angst about, you know, the pro-life, pro-choice argument. The pro-choicers, the pro-choicers were having a heads up because of Billy Bob and a Democratic Congress at the time. And it doesn't have the vitriol that it has now, but I think there are many reasons for that, I would imagine. But sort of your perspective on that time working at Planned Parenthood. This is what, late 90s versus what you see happening in the zeitgeist today, because I assume you keep up, you know.
Yeah, well, previous to me working at Planned Parenthood, there was another clinic in Missoula that had been pipe bombed.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, and so they had major fencing and security for their clinic. And then while I was at Planned Parenthood, that was always an issue. Like, people had to show their ID and get the camera before they could even enter the building, so that we knew for sure that they were there for a reason. And I don't really know, since I've been back there just to visit sometimes, it's gotten even more enclosed. Like, you go in there and there's glass between you and the staff that work there. So it's pretty intense.
Right. Bulletproof, I imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It's not just not the stuff you put in your window when somebody hits a baseball into it.
But
it's a really stressful place to work. People are coming there for some pretty, not everybody, but there are some pretty intense reasons why people go there.
yeah.
And add that element to it as well, and it's pretty intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your experience in Montana, I actually have connection with Missoula.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because in fact, I bet that you were in the grocery store at some point, and some old man was looking at you, like sneering at you. That would have been my grandfather. Because he would, when we'd go visit, he would just rant about all the kids coming and destroying the town, you know.
Oh, I had a whole different image, and I thought I have this Montgomery Burns type of look of your grandfather.
Oh no, my grandfather was
you know, that sort of thing.
he was more of a rancher.
Oh.
And, I mean, so and
How are you, little sheep?
but yeah, he was just very upset about all the condos and stuff, all the development going on.
Okay.
And here's another question. Not to go too far off of you, but like your husband Mark did restoration.
Yeah.
I wonder if he ever worked with my uncle, because my aunt and uncle live there in Missoula, or I think it's actually Clinton. Their names are Harris, Bill Harris. Shelley and Bill. I've got a couple of cousins there also. I think they're more up in Washington now, but
Do they live up Rock Creek by any chance?
that sounds familiar.
Okay.
He did historical restoration type stuff.
Oh, historical restoration?
Yeah.
Mark and I both used to do ecological restoration.
Okay.
So tree planting and planting native trees and shrubs and grasses in areas that have been disturbed. So that's what we used to do, and then
Okay.
Yeah, and then Mark kind of picked it back up again when we were trying to do this Mexico thing to have a seasonal life where we could kind of come and go.
Okay. So I read your blog and everything. And I just got to say, you people are like superheroes.
You and your husband. Now.
Did you read her? You know what they've been doing, Shri? Did you read that?
Well, we have to first we have to get back to what Melissa's backstory, because at some point I bumped into her at Union Station, and we already had this conversation, but
Yeah.
we share. I found it to. I immediately said, "Why didn't I think of that?" You know. But anyway, before we get it, I've only seen parts of the blog, only the recent edition or the recent post, but partly because I was excited about this because I already know a little bit of the backstory, but I'd like to hear it again from you. So we're getting from you're in Missoula, and the dream team at some point breaks up. As I recall, Liz Webster said that she found something in Portland or at some point after a year or two.
Seattle. Yeah, so after 1 year, Sue and Liz moved to Seattle, and right around the same time, I moved to New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sold
what?
And I moved to New York. I took the train out to the Midwest, and then I met up with Philippa, who had just been teaching in Korea.
Okay.
And we were going to meet up and drive to New York City, and we were going to live with her boyfriend, who she had met in Korea, Dave, who she's now married to.
Mm-hmm.
And so, long story short, we drove there. On the way there, she said, you know, there's this other guy that I'm kind of interested in. And so I stayed in New York for 1 week, and then we all parted ways again.
Wow. And oh, by the way, now we got to tag Philippa. She's got to be in this. Now we got to get her side of the story. And we've got...
Basically, Dave said, well, you know, we were there for a couple of days, and then Dave said, they pretty much broke up, and Dave said, well, Melissa, you can stay. And,
no, that's not uncomfortable.
and I was like, that wasn't really my plan. But this is good that we're talking about this, because while I was there, kind of completely freaking out, because I'd moved, like I'd sold everything, and I'd left Missoula, and I'd had like a going away party. And here I was going, well, shit.
What do I do now?
What do I do now? And the logical place where I wanted to go back to was Missoula.
Right.
And so while I was there, I remembered that when I was at Planned Parenthood, I met a client who came in, and she had told me that she worked for the Montana Conservation Corps, which is an AmeriCorps program that does community service and also trail crew and things in the wilderness. And so in New York, I called the Montana Conservation Corps office, and I asked if they were hiring, and they were. And so I shot off my resume to the director and went back to Missoula, and a couple months later I started working for the Montana Conservation Corps.
Nice.
Yeah, and that was the best job I've probably ever had. It was really hard, but it was so much fun. And that's where I met Mark. And so I did that for 2 years, and in my second year I met Mark.
Mm-hmm.
And we were working on trails in the wilderness, like in bear country, and sharing.
So
and
this is about 1999, right around here?
Right 2000. No, for me it was 98, 99. So we met in 99, and I was actually his boss.
Yes, you still are.
I still am. A little. But yeah, so it was just an amazing way to get to know not just him, but all of our friends that we met at the time. You know, you're working 24/7, or you're working all day long in the mountains and living together 24/7 for like 10 days at a time, and then going back to civilization, and then going right back out and doing it all over again.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then after that, I did the ecological restoration thing, where I was traveling all over the West doing native plant restoration, and that was awesome too, but really, really hard. But you make a lot of money, so that's why people do it. So I did that, and then Mark joined me after he finished with the Montana Conservation Corps, and then we kind of settled down a little bit at some point, maybe around 2004. We bought a house.
Okay.
And wow, we bought an old 100-year-old fixer-upper.
Right.
It needed everything redone. Everything. My mom came the day after we moved in, and she was afraid to come into the house. She just kept pacing around in the yard, thinking, oh my God, they bought a teardown. Oh my God, they bought a teardown. She didn't tell me this at the time, but it had really good bones, but it needed like new wiring, new roof, new everything. So from 2004 until about 2010, we worked on this house.
Wow.
In our free time. I mean, we still had jobs.
Right.
And we did it in our free time and as we could afford it. And so we were constantly living in this construction zone. Like at one point, there were no windows in the front of our house, and the house was jacked up, and Mark was redoing the foundation, and it looked like a guy that worked across the street from our house asked us if we were moving our house. Like, that's how crazy it looked. So,
in a manner of speaking, you did. You moved it up.
Yeah. And so while we were doing all the work, we were living in it. It was super stressful. Like, we had friends that would beg us to hang out with them. We were always like, no, we have to work on the house, And they would just come over and bring wine and food and just be like, look, you're hanging out with us. Like, stop.
Relax, will you please?
Yeah, it was just this feeling like we were never going to get it done if we didn't just keep going.
Right.
And so that took about 7 years. And right at the end of that project, we decided to divide our property and build a brand new house right next door.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what we were thinking. But anyway, so Mark quit his job, and his job became building this brand new house.
Wow.
And we sold our old house, kind of all at the same time. We sold our old house, finished a new house. That took about a year. I was the general contractor of that house, and so once again, Mark was like working for me.
Yeah.
And that's not stressful at all.
No, I imagine it is.
Yeah.
There's dinner.
And so by the end of that 8 years of just house projects,
Mm-hmm.
we were so sick of houses. And we built this brand new house. It's beautiful. It's not a big, crazy house or anything, but it's how we wanted it. And, you know, we built it as sustainably as we could and with all these features that we would want. And we came to the end, and we just didn't even care. We were like, God, we've devoted 8 years of our lives to thinking about our house. And there's
benefit. Yeah.
very soulful, or I don't know. And so at the same time, we were really itching to have some adventure. And so with a little bit of money in our pockets from selling the old house, we literally like swept out the back door of the brand new house as the renters were coming in the front door, and we immediately rented the brand new house.
So at this point, you're a landlord of the new house.
Yeah.
And the old house was bought up by somebody else.
The old house was bought up by another family.
Okay. And so you're renting the new house as we speak. And so and that's taking care of whatever mortgage you have left on it or income.
Yeah. It's taking care of our mortgage, and then we put a little bit of money, like $100 in our pocket every month.
Oh, that's nice.
But not really, because there's bills always, you know. But anyway, it covers our expenses.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, so so that was in 2011 when we first started renting it, and that was when we first we just went on a road trip around Montana, and my fear of bears came up again. I was like, if we're gonna do this camping in Montana thing, we need to buy a rig because I'm not gonna sleep in a tent.
Right.
I can't sleep. Or maybe we should just go to Mexico.
Just because.
And so we went to Mexico for the first time. And we went for 5 weeks, and it was like the trip of a lifetime. I said I want to go, and I don't want to worry about anything because we had just been working for so hard for so long. And so with some of that money from selling the old house, we had a really nice 5-week vacation in Mexico and Ibiza.
Nice.
It was awesome. And it was actually this time of year. It was August and September, super hot, super humid, dripping with sweat all the time. But
Yeah.
we just fell in love with it.
Ah, that's awesome. That
Yeah.
makes me smile thinking about it. Here's the thing. At some point, your son showed up.
Yes.
When did that happen? He's what? It got to be 2005 or 6, right?
In 2008.
2008. Okay.
Yeah.
And so where were you? If you were 2011 sweeping out the back door, the boy must have been good 3 years old by then. So
Yeah.
He was in on the whole deal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He was born in the old house. Literally, he was born at home.
Wow. Did you do that sort of like the bath birth or something like that in the tub type of thing?
We were gonna maybe do it in a pool. We had a little blow-up pool.
Okay.
He came so fast that he was born in our bed,
Okay.
Wow.
which was fine.
Okay.
It was amazing, actually. It was really nice.
So he does foundations and emergency C-sections too? Your husband does foundations and emergency C-sections? Is that?
No. We had a midwife.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm just going.
Yeah, I was like, yeah.
Wash my hands. I gotta get in and catch.
These
Oh
people
my
are
God. No.
human. woman.
Not that
Heroes.
we're not that do-it-yourselfer.
Well, I'm just saying. He's an intrepid fellow. I've met him. He's a wonderful guy. And I'm going, I didn't know he had that, he had that.
He is the type of guy who, if we decided to do that, he would be like, okay, I'll figure out how to do that.
Boiling water, baby, let's go. I'm in. Because I remember when you boiling water, towels. Somebody call Bob Vila. We got this.
So just recently then you just pulled up stakes and went down to Mexico.
Well, we went for 5 weeks that first time in 2011.
Uh-huh.
And then we went back home and lived in the brand new house for like 2 or 3 months. I don't remember exactly. We were kind of renting it part-time to people, and then we'd live in it and then rent it part-time again. After that first trip, I couldn't stop thinking about Sayulita.
Uh-huh.
For one thing, we had met this really amazing family, and they were sailing, like they'd sold everything in Sweden and had bought a sailboat in the Caribbean, and they were sailing from the Caribbean. They had been sailing through the Panama Canal and then up the coast of Mexico. So we met them in Sayulita. They had 2 kids. They were just having an amazing adventure and loving life, and we just fell in love with them. So when we left after that 5-week trip, they were still here, and it was partly like being inspired by them and also by the town. I just couldn't stop thinking about Sayulita, and I wanted to come back, and I was literally dreaming about Sayulita. And so we just decided to come back a few months later. So I think it was like January of the following year, January of 2012, we did come back, and we drove. So that
I remember that trip.
I think I met you in between flying here for the first time and then driving for the first time, right?
Right. You were on trains. No, I think you weren't driving just yet. You had got back from Mexico, and I think you were training. You were on the trains to get back to Montana.
Yeah, we had just visited my family in Illinois.
You were visiting your family in Illinois, and you had to pass through Chicago before you got to wherever.
Exactly.
And you did a broadcast, anyone in Chicago around, and I went, well, hell, I'm just next door.
Yeah.
Why don't you walk and say hello? And you were there for what, good 2-3 hours just shouting it up.
It was perfect.
It was a little bit wary of me, and then by the end of it, he's going, all right, you're cool. I'm good. I'm cool by you. And I spent half the time trying to figure out. I didn't talk as much to Mark, only because I think Mark understood that it was sort of our meetup, our conversation, our getting back and reminiscing.
Yeah.
But I ended up going, okay, I want to keep the other 2 in. And it was actually Owen I focused on, because the boy was a fascinating child, if I may say so. I would love for him to have met my guys. Trust me.
I know.
The 3 of them would have been thick as thieves. I mean, I think it'd be fun. But he was quite fascinating, and I almost gravitated towards him more than anything else. And just to figure out how this one ticked, what was he thinking? And Mark is just a great guy. I mean, he was.
Oh, thank you.
He was very kind. I mean, he was very kind. Who's this little guy? What's he doing here? He could have. It could have been any reaction, and he was very much not only a gentleman, but also very curious as to how he was much more interested in how we interacted, if for no other reason that we didn't necessarily have a past. We had a history together at Knox, sort of a collective zeitgeist together.
Yeah.
And we were reminiscing about that zeitgeist.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying German words with the sombrero on, just to tie that in together. But I think he was fascinated. I think he was trying to learn more about you, or at least get a better feel for what made you tick.
Yeah.
Not that he didn't know after all those years, but it's sort of a nice, fresh, different perspective on the same. My wife says the same thing when she goes to homecomings with me. She's gone to two of them, I think. And in both cases, she's met people who interact with me, and she finds something different about me that she didn't know. And and not that it's bad or good or anything. It's just that sort of or reinforcing what she already knew but didn't pinpoint. An added dimension to an already, a new character to the diamond, if you will. That's, that sort of thing. I think that's what he was there for. Well, no, he was there to get everyone to the next train. But
he was there to have a beer.
Huh?
He was there to have a beer.
Yeah, he was there to have a beer, and I was more than happy to
and observe Sridhar.
I get that a lot. Clinical professionals as well.
No, he thought you were awesome, Sri. Are you guys still there?
Yeah.
Okay. Sri just froze.
Yeah, he might have just logged off. Like his computer tends to.
Not this one.
No, there he is.
This is the. I just built this baby. This is the mothership right here.
That doesn't say anything.
No.
This is a trial run, right?
This is a trial run on this device, but
so you don't know. Anything could happen.
I do know.
Suddenly there could be like cats roaming across because you just don't know.
I'm betting the farm that this box of parts is going to be just fine for our little broadcast.
Okay.
Broadcasts was on a laptop with the webcam, and invariably right around this time of the conversation, the laptop died because it overheated. It was taking in too much information. I was using too many big words, and it would freak out and then shut off.
And then I would have to talk with the guests, and that's just that's too hard.
I don't know what to say. He's such a nervous Nelly, poor thing.
I know.
He just looks good on camera. I have no presumptions of looking good at all. I have to speak. But Cameron, he just makes the thing look nice.
I know. I just sit over here in this little box and flex.
I love
battle axe in the background.
Faces. I love seeing you in your Cameron. You're in the attic, right?
Yeah, in my nerd hole.
In your yurt hole.
Yeah, my nerd hole. I've got all my gaming books behind me. Like massive collection of nerdy goodness.
Not Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Dungeons and Dragons.
I've got it all of it.
Here's the thing.
How much Dungeons and Dragons do you have? All of it. So.
Strange thing is that I'm actually doing a monthly D&D thing.
He actually plays. I actually
plays. He just covets.
Yeah. I just need it. I just have to have it.
I'm an actual user. So.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have a lending library for Sridhar.
No.
Sridhar.
You can call me Sridhar. I love it. Rarely people do, and it's beautiful that you do.
I like how it sounds.
I do too. I've had it for a while, so it's grown on me.
So what's your space? You said that you were going to go up to the cave? This is the cave? You have the nicest cave I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Usually caves are damp and gross and
there's a fire alarm back there or something. What is that? Is that a light or a fire alarm at the top?
Where?
Just
at the top of the arch.
At the top of the arch.
Light. Yeah. Hang on.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Angel light too.
Yeah.
Now, if you turn your angel light on, then I have to do this. Go on. No, keep going. You two go ahead.
So where is this?
We're living in a vacation rental right now for the summer.
Uh-huh.
Down below where I am right now.
Okay.
And we're kind of dog sitting and caretaking a little bit for the summer. And so I'm in the owner's house right now. And it's the cave because it's away from my family.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
how is little India doing, by the way? So wait. We're getting back to you for a second. We're talking about Owen. We're talking about the train ride back to Missoula before you folks decide to do the divorcing of all of your belongings and traveling between the United States and Mexico.
Yeah.
So let's get back first to the car trip before we start talking about.
Okay.
Because that was an epic car trip, as I remember.
Wow. The first time we drove to Mexico, okay, I'd never driven to Mexico before.
Mm-hmm.
And like 2 nights before we crossed the border, I was reading the State Department security warnings, which you just shouldn't do if you're driving or really, if you're going to any country, you shouldn't read the security warnings.
No.
So I read those 2 nights before we crossed the border, and it completely freaked me out. Even though I knew that stuff, just reading it and being in that moment, like, oh, we're really doing this, completely freaked me out. And so the day that we crossed the border and started driving, I was a nutcase. I was really, really uncomfortable. And I don't think I was verbalizing that. I was just kind of like really freaked out. And we had our dog with us. And she was panting a lot and seemed like she had to go to the bathroom. And so we'd pull over and try to help her. And no, she didn't have to go to the bathroom. We didn't really know what was going on with her. But every time we pulled over, I felt like if I was out of the car on the side of the road, that I was a target somehow, which is ridiculous. Like, but that's how I felt at the time. Like my white skin and whatever. Like I just stuck out.
This is on the other side of the border.
Yeah, this is on the Sonora side. And so that was a pretty nerve-wracking first trip. Like, it's always a little bit nerve-wracking. There are parts of Mexico that you just don't choose to drive through and don't really want to drive through. But the corridor that we take on our trip, many, like tons and tons and tons of people take it. And we're part of this group called On the Road in Mexico. That's a Facebook group. And it's people that are just traveling back and forth and reporting back about how it is and how the roads are and how security is and all that. So that, I think if we hadn't had that, I wouldn't have felt very comfortable driving. But we kept saying, oh, everybody's doing okay.
Sure.
And now that we've been doing it more, we've driven 3 times now down. It doesn't feel like a big deal. Still, the state of Sinaloa is part of the drive, and I hate driving through Sinaloa. It's one of the dangerous.
Yeah, it's the big cartel state. But strange enough, I bump into people who take trains all the time or drive through, and these are random people that I may be talking to, you know, just because I do that sort of thing. And oh my God, we're in Chicago. You know, we're gonna get shot. I go, no, you're not. You know, my nephew and niece are both teenagers, and they were with us last summer. And at one point, I took them to downtown, and I gave them a map, and I told them, "You're going to go here, 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 and here. Here's your map. Here's my cell phone number. Give me a call if you have a question." And hold on a minute. And I let them go, and their parents almost freaked out. So. Hold on a minute. It seems that I've got to take care of something.
No problem. But the flip side of that is that now that we're down here and we hear the U.S. news, damn, the U.S. sounds pretty horrifying from another country.
Yeah, I bet.
And I've heard that from other people too, that they're if you're not from the United States and all you hear is bad news coming out of the United States, you very well would be frightened to go there. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and everywhere seems more dangerous, or, you know, if it's alien. Oh, Shri got younger.
No. My son got bored, and they
Hey, stop it.
Melissa, this is Amit.
Hi.
Melissa, and you're Cameron.
Of course I do.
Of course I do.
It's nice to meet you. Nice Fez.
It is.
It's his Fez? Okay, you can put that down.
Right over your sombrero.
You can put it on top of my sombrero. Okay, that's fine. We're still talking here. Do you need anything? Can I help you with something?
No.
Melissa's in Mexico. Can she help you with something? And if she can, I've got questions for you later.
I just want to steal your peanuts.
You want to steal my peanuts?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, you may go now. Go away. We can edit that part out, okay?
Don't worry about it.
Out. Bye. There's no peace in this house. None at all. Where were we?
But no, you're absolutely right, Melissa. I mean, when you just look at like the news or you get these impressions. I mean, let's face it, news is bad news because
Yeah.
when everything's great, there's nothing to say.
Yeah.
And if you look at history, it's all one war to the next. But really, if you look at the dates, then you see that there's like 100 years between each war of peace and tranquility or whatever. We just focus on the bad, and you forget that there's an entire community wherever you go
Yeah.
that is just people like everybody else.
Yeah. And the people here are amazing. The people here are the best part of this country. They're just incredible. I mean, I can't walk down the street without someone coming over and seeing India and saying, "Oh, muy bonita, preciosa," like just on and on and on and on and on.
Right.
And then we go out to eat, and the waitresses want to hold her, and like we just looked at a house that was for rent last night, and I was digging in my purse for something, and the woman just took her. She just took her, and she just told her the rest of the time that we were looking at this house. It's just family is, children are really loved and cherished here, and family is really important, and it's just amazing. I love it.
Well, then forgive me when I get into sort of the geopolitics of the question, because you're in a place where you can answer it. Here in the U.S., we're getting these different perspectives on that. Everyone in Mexico wants to get to the U.S. for our jobs, our money, and my turnaround is, wait a minute, it's a functioning nation. It's a developed country. They must have money. Hell, I know they got at least a couple of billion of our taxpayer dollars just on loans and trade agreements.
Yeah.
It can't be that. It can't be as bad as it is being sold to us.
Oh, it's not. It's not. I see people and meet people all the time that have way more money than I have, which isn't hard because I don't really have a lot of money right now.
Right.
Which I want to talk about our business and all that at some point, but like, oh my gosh, Guadalajara, I mean, there's money here, and it's not a third world country. There are parts of it that are very much like what you would think of as a third world country. There are parts of the town I'm in that look third world, but there are many parts that are very first world.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Totally. I'm not suffering down here, you know what I mean? Like, I can have my coffee and my treats and my whatever. It's, I don't know.
It's not the one for material things. Okay. Cameron, you understand why I asked the question, because you and I hear all sorts of things about everyone's trying to invade. In fact, I believe some politicians use the word invasion by folks who are trying to cross the border illegally. Now, I believe that there's probably, much like you said, a poor economic subset that's looking for a better life, and those are probably the folks that are crossing over.
Oh, definitely.
But if you establish yourself as a business person, a legitimate business person, and we're not talking about drug cartels and import-export and all that, the actual real deal economy, I'm thinking Mexico's doing pretty well. I don't understand. There's a disconnect from what I'm being sold from the U.S. media and what I'm hearing from people in the street who are there.
Yeah.
And you're not the first person. Let me say that. But.
And I don't know what some people think that, well, there are conspiracy theories about, oh, if Mexico gets a bad rap, then that'll keep more people in the United States going on vacation in the United States, like to Hawaii and Florida instead of going to Mexico. There's that kind of thing that people are feeling, but I don't know. I think Mexico is gonna do really well in the next couple of decades, and I don't know. That's the vibe I get here, and people seem pretty positive about the direction that the country's headed. And the proximity to the United States, I mean, it's a pretty good location. So.
Is the town where you're living? Are there a lot of people from other countries there? I mean, you said you met this other family that they were sailing around the world. Are there more people who are Americans or Europeans who are living in that community? Is it kind of a place where more international residents have come?
For sure.
Okay.
There are people from all over the world here. Italian, French, Spanish, Argentinians, Chileans, Brazilians. Yeah, it's a big melting pot, but it's a little village.
Okay.
It's a big place, and it's very touristy. I mean, it's a total tourist destination, but it's not a resort kind of place at all. There's no like big high-rise resorts where I live. It's just casas and casitas and.
Well, how far is Puerto Vallarta? It's about what 30 miles south?
It takes about 45 minutes to get there, but I think it's like 27, 26 miles.
Sure.
Not far at all. And that's where India was born.
Fantastic. Speaking of which, let's now that you're there. Okay, we're talking about your history and the freak out final drive through to get to where you're at.
Yeah.
So, you being the artist, tell me about the art that you're doing, and tell me how are you folks getting around and doing the day-to-day life that you're doing while in Mexico.
Okay. So the first time we drove down, it was just for fun. It was like a vacation. We came down for 2.5 months or so, and we didn't. We just vacationed. We were just going to the beach all the time and stuff like that. And then the following winter, we really wanted to return, but we really couldn't afford it. It didn't make any sense financially.
Right.
Like, at all. It was kind of crazy. But I thought, well, I had started making these pictures where I take photographs of Mexico and I transfer them onto wood, and I had experimented with selling them in Missoula that summer before we came down in whatever year. I kind of lost track. Anyway, and people responded really well to my pictures and really loved them. And so I thought, maybe I could try to sell these down there, and that would help us be able to afford the trip. And so we came down last year. I think it was like 1.5 years ago at this point, with not a lot of money at all, but a strong desire to be here and just to try to sell the art. And it went really, really well. The first week, there were all these things that were coming up that made me feel like it wasn't supposed to happen, and it was really challenging, and I wanted to give up, basically, and my husband was like, oh, no. You need to play these dragons and show that, this is what you want to do.
Right. And
we met someone on the beach who's now a friend of ours, and she said, Sayulita just has a way of providing for people. And as soon as she said that, things started to improve, and things went really well from there on out. So this time we were here for 4 months and selling my artwork and trying to make connections and going to more and more markets and stuff like that. And it went really, really well. And it supported us. And so we went back home to Missoula, and the plan was to return the following winter for 6 months at least. But in order to do that and to do it legally, we needed this certain kind of visa, which is either a temporary resident visa or a permanent resident visa. Because you're not supposed to work in Mexico on a tourist visa. So when I was here that first time doing it, it was illegal. So, so we went back home and we're trying to go through that process to do it legally and to get the proper visas, and we didn't qualify. And at the same time, we found out that we were pregnant, and that's a really big deal, right? Like, God,
yeah,
maybe we should just stay in Missoula and like be normal and settle down and stay put. And so I've told this whole story on my blog, and I feel like it's kind of a long story to tell right here, but
Crux of the biscuit?
Huh?
What's the crux of the biscuit of the story?
The crux of it is we came back. We said, well, the crux of it is on the same day, I found out that I got into the best market in the area as a permanent vendor, which is a really big deal.
Uh-huh.
And I found out from our attorney that we had a contact with down here that if we had our baby in Mexico, that we would get residency. We would get the resident visas that we need. No problem. So I found this out after Mark had already accepted a job.
Oh my gosh.
In
But,
Missoula or in Mexico?
He had accepted a job in Missoula.
Oh, wow.
We had moved back into our house in Missoula. But it didn't really feel 100% right. And 2 days after he accepted that job, that's when I got this news. Like, yeah, if you have your baby there, you can get this residency that you need, and you got into this market. And so as soon as I found out that information, I knew that we had to go back. But it wasn't right away that we decided, yeah, let's just do it. Well, eventually we just went for it, and we came back. So that was this past November. We drove back down, arrived November 1st, and I was about 5 months pregnant, I think. Something like that, 5 or 6. And boy, that was, driving down here as a pregnant woman was really a big deal.
I bet.
We're driving through Mexico to get to Sayulita, and I'm going, oh my God, I'm gonna have my baby here. Like, this is real. It's really happening. This is where my baby's gonna be born. And everything felt really intense. Even, you know, when you're pregnant, it just does anyway. But then, you know, being in a foreign country and all that, it just felt like a really big deal. And Owen got sick right away when we arrived. It was super humid and hot, and all the kids had staph infections on their legs from scratching their mosquito bites and playing at the beach and stuff. It's really common, but it sounds really freaky, right? Staph?
Yeah.
Not right. Yeah.
So he got a staph infection. He got this weird viral fever and rash that I'd never seen before. And this was within the first couple weeks that we had arrived back here. And I'm pregnant, and I'm going, oh my God, did I make a horrible decision coming back here? And then right around Christmas of last year, my sister got really, really sick. And
yeah, that was something I was watching too, because you were really, I was feeling for you, kid. I mean, because your sister had birth and fell ill.
I had given birth? No, my sister was pregnant.
She was pregnant. She was feeling, oh wow, that's just.
Yeah, so she was pregnant, and she had come down with H1N1.
Oh wow.
And then it led to pneumonia. And so as soon as she went to the hospital, she thought she was just getting a breathing treatment for asthma, but they admitted her to the ICU immediately. And within a week, she was on a ventilator. And she was in a medically induced coma for like a month, I think.
Wow.
And so she's pregnant, and she developed acute respiratory distress syndrome while she was on the ventilator, I guess. Which, if you look it up, it's not good. You shouldn't look it up. Super high mortality rate, and they thought she was going to die several times. It was really, really scary. And I'm in Mexico going, what the hell am I doing here? Yet I was very pregnant and didn't want to be in an ICU unit and didn't want to be on an airplane. And so I just stayed put, and she ended up being fine. Her baby's totally healthy, totally fine. It's amazing. It's amazing. But yeah, she came really, really close to dying. And holy cow, talk about stressful. It's horrible. Very stressful. So, so India was born February 8th of 2014, and a couple days before she was born, I went to have an ultrasound at 38 weeks.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't want to have it for some reason. I just didn't feel like it was necessary, but my doctor at the birth center insisted that every one of her patients have an ultrasound at 38 weeks. So I went and had this ultrasound, and it took a really long time for the ultrasound doctor to do the ultrasound, and she finally finished. And the first words out of her mouth were, "This baby is no good." And I was like,
What are you talking about?
What?
"What do you mean this baby is no good?" And she started saying that my amniotic fluid was too low and that she wasn't measuring the right. She was measuring 37 weeks instead of 38 weeks, and that my placenta was old, and all these things, and completely freaking me out. But at the same time, I knew I had had signs that I was close to having the baby.
Right.
And so anyway, this last thing was super stressful, but she was born a few days later. Totally fine.
Okay.
Now, India was born in a hospital,
No, India was born in a birth center.
in a birth center, but effectively a healthcare operated clinical setting, right?
No, more like, I mean, yes and no.
It's certainly more clinical than your bed.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at. Is that you have a singular experience of having two births, one in a non-traditional setting in a U.S. environment, that being your bed in Missoula, Montana, with the midwife, versus a non-U.S. environment, but in a clinical setting, effectively managed by trained professionals and medical staff, actual medical staff. You know.
Well, here's the thing. In Missoula, I had my midwife, and she had oxygen, and she had Pitocin for stopping bleeding, and she had Cytotec for stopping bleeding, and she had her tools that she could use to medically help me. And if there was a complication, we would go to the hospital.
Mm.
In Sayulita, I really wanted to have a home birth, but I wanted it to be safe, and I couldn't find a way to have a home birth in Sayulita and feel safe. I couldn't find someone who had Cytotec and Pitocin and,
Right.
kinds of things. Which, if you hemorrhage, that's a big deal, and you need to go to the hospital or have medication.
Yeah.
So I figured out right away that that wasn't going to be an option, and so I chose the birth center. But the birth center is basically like going to a house where the midwife is at the house with the same things that my home birth midwife had: oxygen, Pitocin, Cytotec, but no epidurals, no, same tools, but it's kind of like instead of being at my house, I was at somebody else's house, if that makes sense. But I was like 5 minutes from a hospital.
Okay.
But super low key, like literally a house with a birthing pool, and my doctor, and then her husband, who's a pediatrician, was there as well.
A birthing pool is not one of those inflatable things; it's an actual pool.
An actual kind of hot tub thing, but yeah. But the water's not hot when you have it's just warm. It's like room temperature.
No, man, I want to have a jacuzzi birth. That's what I want. My next life, I'm going to be born in a jacuzzi.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, it was amazing. It was amazing.
I'm telling you, I learned to swim very quickly. That's for sure.
So, okay, so you came down specifically to, I mean, you just like pulled up stakes and just came down to do art, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's you know what, that's terrifying. But like
terrifying.
I'm amazed. I am I am like high-fiving you. Like, that's awesome because, you took a chance and you just went with it. And it sounds like everything's going really well.
Yeah, everything's going really well. I mean, right now, it's the low season and there are no tourists here because it's so hot and everybody is back to school and it's not winter yet. And we're broke. I mean, I'll be totally honest, we're broke. But we have like twice as many accounts coming up this next year as we did last year, and we're growing the business. It's happening.
Yeah.
But I would have given up so many times if it was just me making decisions and me working solo.
Uh-huh.
But I work with my husband. I can't, like, it's not a one-person thing. It's, in fact, since we had the baby, he's 90% of the business, and I'm like 10% of the business.
Okay.
And way, way, way more big picture, business-minded, optimistic, not afraid.
Yeah.
Whereas I would have given up several times by now.
Let me throw this at you. Now, you guys have cultivated collectively a skill set that is really not transferable to a resume that I can think of. You know what I mean? And I'm a business person, but yet it is so fascinating and so unique that it almost in and of itself makes for a great story and makes for good investment, if you will. I mean, I see construction for both of you, art, accounts management. You guys got to deal with all that sort of thing. And I'm wondering, Mark has individually has the going to him for a moment, not to take away from your art, only because the art is the main business. But he's actually built 2 houses effectively. He's renovated one and built another, and has from that garnered a whole breadth of experience on how to do things for himself and for his family.
Right.
That he easily translate to building a hacienda on the beach on somebody's private property. You know what I mean? And make a quick killing of that. By the time it's done, now it's the vacation season and they're all coming in. Look, we have the brand new hacienda, premium price. Everyone wins. You see what I mean? That kind of turning around those skill sets into something that can make money in the off season. Has he considered that?
Yeah, but he's not a builder. I mean, he does that stuff. He figures out how to do that stuff. He is, but he doesn't want to do that. You know what I mean? While we were renovating our house for those 7 years, he had a job with the Western Montana Growers Cooperative, and he was the manager of this cooperative that is all about local food and getting local food to the local community. And it started out really, really small. When they hired him, it was tiny, tiny, tiny.
Right.
And he spent that 7 years growing the cooperative to a sustainable point. And so really his background and his interests are more business and entrepreneurial and that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
He's totally an idea guy. But he just figures stuff out as they need to get done, right? So we needed to renovate the house, so he figured out how to do it. And then we needed to build the house, so he figured out how to do it. I mean, we had help. He worked with other people building our brand new house. But
you got to bring in a plumber expert. You got to bring in an electrician.
Yeah. And even builders, too. We worked with other builders, too. But he just figures out how to do stuff. But as an artist, oh, my God, it is the best thing in the world to be married to a business guy. Like, he majored in business.
Sure.
He works on spreadsheets and does shit that I don't even care about and hate to talk about. I hate it. But then I'm doing, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so helpful. We need this information, and this is very important that we keep track of how much it costs to make a picture and blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
So it's really, really cool that we get to work together, and we get to tag team childcare, and we get to tag team work, and the other side of that is that we spend so much freaking time together. It's a little bit crazy. It's a lot.
It's
I mean, all
unnatural.
of us. Like, Owen's homeschooled.
Just go to work. Just get away from me.
Yeah. And kid, you're going to go to school one of these days because you're driving me crazy. Yeah, we're just kind of crazy right now. But Owen might go to school. We're going to look into a little international Montessori kind of school here locally. Anyway.
Look up the International Baccalaureate also. The International Baccalaureate is a program that's coming out of the UN.
Uh-huh.
I'm a graduate of that, actually, back in the bad old days in high school. But it is meant to teach diplomats across the globe the same curriculum regardless of where you come from. It can be, I think back in the day it was based in English, French, Spanish.
Uh-huh.
But now it's got, I mean, I know the IB kids in Chicago are learning Chinese and Arabic, so, you know, it's that intense. The point is that there is a holistic international flair to the teaching. I got to be IB in my 4 years in high school. And the benefit of that is that I walked in the Knox as a sophomore.
Okay.
And so I finished my biology degree. Effectively, the absolute necessaries for the biology degree were finished by the end of my junior year.
Mm-hmm.
And so my senior year, I ended up taking a second major in music, or a minor, if you will, in music. I didn't have enough to finish it, but I had enough to qualify for a minor, I think.
That's awesome.
And so the idea of that, if the kid is going to go through the rigmarole of college eventually, look into the International Baccalaureate. I know that there's probably schools in Mexico and in Puerto Vallarta because he's nearby, or in the area, or something that nowadays he can telecommute. You know, something to consider.
Yeah.
But and it might not be for now because the kid is what, he's 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Local stuff for now, but I think when he gets to the point where he has to be in middle school, that's when he's really thinking about it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure there are opportunities here I don't even know about. But earlier you were talking about how fun it was to talk to him.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say he is a really cool kid.
Yeah, he is.
And yeah, I don't even know how to describe him, but he's amazing and he's really intense. And we didn't have, at least this is my perspective, wasn't ready to have another child for a really long time because I couldn't give as much as I was giving to him to 2 kids.
Right.
And now that India's here, I realize that kids aren't all the same.
No. I had them at the same time, and they're not the same.
They're so different. I can't believe it.
Yeah. That's the thing about parents who have one kid. You know, they know everything about children.
Right.
Until they have 2, and then they realize they know nothing.
The whole playbook goes out the window.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so I don't know all the answers. Yeah.
So I don't know how to talk. I don't want to talk about Owen in a way that's he's always had big needs and he's super smart, and I don't want to say that like in a bragging way.
No. Wait a minute. Wait, Melissa, this is your podcast.
I know. I don't want to be one of those moms that's like, my kid is
whatever the hell you want. The one that came in is a papa's boy. That's the only reason why he came in here. He hasn't seen me in about 3 hours. Right? Other than that, he's a genius artist, and with that comes with all of the proclivities of an artist. He's a little bit needy. He needs some attention, and he needs to know that he is loved, and he is. Yeah. And there are times where I have to roll my eyes and go, okay, eat my peanuts, get the hell out of my face.
Yeah.
And it's okay to say that to children. they will deal with it. Oh, Daddy's just being funny and he's drinking again. You know, and it's fine. You know, well, drinking part not necessarily, but you understand what I mean. Children are much more adaptable than their parents are to them, in my mind.
That's true.
And I end up defaulting. My wife hates me for this sometimes because I end up defaulting to a more childlike environment because I don't want to deal with being the adult sometimes. So the reason why they can come in here and bang on the door, and he knows what I'm doing. He knows I don't want to be interrupted, yet he...
Of course. I'm surprised no one hasn't knocked on my door, honestly.
Huh?
I'm surprised no one hasn't knocked on my door.
Oh, well, I'm just saying it at some point, instead of us going, get you just go away. I'd rather just come on in.
Yeah.
Not say hello to everyone. Now go away. And that, they're gone. They're gone.
It takes way less than fighting it.
Instead of fighting it, let it come as it comes and goes away. We cannot. We want to, in the public world, we want to show perfection about our children. I disagree. I want to show that my children are exceptionally human. And I'm exceptionally human dealing with them. I hear the daddy in the background as we speak.
Yeah.
Needless to say, don't. It's your party. Don't mix words. And with that, I'm gonna put the. You talk to Cameron about Owen. Give me a minute.
What are we talking about?
I don't know.
Well,
he said talk about Owen.
Oh well, India is so mellow. She is such a mellow little baby, and bless her heart. She just goes with the flow, rolls with the punches, and I didn't know kids came that way. What's happening to Sridhar? He's got.
No, I'm right here.
He just turned off his camera so he could beat things.
No. I just turned off the camera, but you could probably hear me in the background. I was giving marching orders, but we'll do it.
Is there someone knocking at the door?
No, yes, the same boy.
Oh.
Was down stating that
He had to
watch and saying he's supposed to be done now. That's what your son is saying.
No. They don't have school tomorrow, so they get to stay up late.
They don't? Why not?
No, a teacher's in state day or something.
Oh, okay.
Point is that we have a standing rule that they read for 20 minutes each, and I read 10 minutes to them.
Oh.
That's almost an hour. And that's supposed to start around 9 o'clock, which means that I have roughly half an hour, 40 minutes.
Okay.
Plenty of time.
So, I wanted to ask you, Melissa, about your art and
Yes.
where can people see it?
Okay. Right now, people can see it at www.facebook.com/Melly Milagro, which is ELLYMILAGRO. And then my website, I have a website that's www.mellymilagro.com, but that's mostly my blog. I'm trying to figure out how to ship internationally.
Okay.
And whether or not it's going to work, like whether the shipping is going to be too expensive or whatever. But I think eventually if I get to the point of shipping internationally, I'll have an online Etsy store or something like that.
So at the moment there's you can't purchase, people can't purchase from like online or even if like they see something or if they were. Do you have a shop?
I don't have a shop yet.
Okay. Because
of that reason, I don't know about shipping yet. I need to do a test shipment to someone in my family and just see.
Well, you and Mark find me online on the Facebook after this.
Okay.
I can get you at least email email connections to my father-in-law in India. I'll tell you why. Because he does shipments all the time to the U.S.
Okay.
He's a distributor for Amazon. Effectively, he's a local distributor of books in India for books of Indian origin that people in the World Wide Web want to buy.
Okay.
And he ships them en masse to Amazon's super secret location in Yucca Flats or whatever the hell.
Does he ship stuff that's fragile? Fragile?
He has, because he shipped artwork before. He shipped
He has, okay.
framed. My wife's got them all over the place. Some glasswork and framework.
Oh, wow.
That can be done. That's done by local migrant artists in India, and that favored by an elite few.
Okay.
Point is that there's, and that's a perspective from India. I think if the United States is the target market, Mexico to the United States is a lot easier than India is. But
yeah.
But the concept is the same. It's just the pricing might be different.
Another idea I have is.
I'm sorry. Go on. You were saying.
No. Another idea I have is to like have to see if my mom would want to help me, and she could help me make stuff in the United States. I haven't even talked to her about this yet, though. So, I guess I'm jumping the gun a little bit. But having somebody in the States make the work and ship it from the States.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, your mother could be the distributor, and so now it's easy. All you're doing is a point-to-point shipment to her house, where either she stores in a basement or an offsite, storage area type thing.
Right.
And she goes in once a week and ships out. She ships out orders, or once a day, depending on the excitement of the product.
Right. Yeah.
That's easily doable. In fact, that was the side business that my wife originally had. Was all of the remnants that Amazon rejected, my father-in-law would send here, and I literally would have a library in the basement. And once every day, my wife would go get online. People would ask for secondhand books of yoga and all that sort of thing, and she, to a point where she was shipping 15, 16 orders a day.
Okay.
And it would go to her account. So effectively, you're creating the distributor creates an account in your name and pays you back for the shipping and a cut of the take, less her, her shipping, and you give her a small income.
Right.
You take the rest, and she effectively wire transfers that back to your account.
Okay.
So
it's easy.
So you're doing. Do you do commissions though too? Like you get work, like people want specific things, right?
Yeah, I've done other people's photographs where they'll have a baby photo or a family photo or a picture of their dog or whatever, and they want me to put it onto wood, and I can do that for them too.
You put pictures on wood?
Yeah, so I haven't even said what I do.
Yeah, that's kind of
I've always known you as the clay shaper.
I know.
I think I have.
That's the title of the thing.
I think I have some stolers still, some original stolers.
Some duds.
No, those are collectibles.
Yeah, they're collectibles.
Don't you call them duds?
Along with I've got a Flanagan too, and I think I have a Schultz. So
how this all got started was I had all these photographs that I had taken of Mexico, and I wanted a way to have them just in our house, just to display them. And we were passing through Mazatlan, and I went to this little gallery, and I saw all these amazing, bright photographs that had been printed on canvas. And I looked into that online, and it was super expensive for one thing, but then I found how to transfer photographs onto wood. And the first time I tried it, I just loved it. And that's how it all got started.
Wow.
So right now, I'm going to be doing 2 markets in the area, which are like big farmers markets, kind of, where there's food and there's art, and people come there once a week, and they, tourists, but also locals, and they maybe buy stuff to take home. And so I'll be doing 2 markets starting in November, and then I got into a shop in Sayulita, and they're selling my work kind of on consignment. And I have this wholesale deal where I make really big pieces for a guy who ships them to Texas, and then he sells them wholesale. And then there's another shop that's going to be buying wholesale. So we're just trying to make it so that we can actually survive, like really make it happen. Because last year it was a start, but it wasn't sustainable yet. And we're hoping that this year it's going to be sustainable, and then next year go beyond that. So it's exciting.
Cool. That is very exciting.
Yeah, so our day-to-day life here, I guess what I wanted to say is we live in paradise, or whatever you want to call it, but our day-to-day lives are pretty similar to probably you guys. It's like well, maybe not. But what I'm saying is we work and we have our family struggles, and we,
Oh, no.
it's the same stuff, different country. But we don't go to the beach every day. We don't sit on the beach drinking cervezas and margaritas every day. It's not like that.
No, that doesn't bring success.
That wasn't the expectation. But something that we were discussing earlier that gave me the thought that you're not inundated with the same stress in terms of coming from media outlets, coming from broadcast news, coming from leadership.
No.
About how attacked we are. Sorry.
What are you drinking, Cameron?
I'm not drinking anything.
Where was I? Oh, how attacked we are by Mexicans, by Latin Americans on invading our borders, by how the world is coming to an end because of our president. You know what I mean? There are people behaving in a certain way because of the nonsense they're being sold to them.
Sure.
By the media presenting to them. I think being out of it, I have a high school friend who lives in England who has a totally different perspective on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's beautiful that he looks at the world and he's looking at what the hell is going on in my city. Well, he's talking about Chicago because we were both high school students.
Mm-hmm.
And well, what's going on over there? Or who are living outside of the U.S., who are friends of ours who come back, are wondering. I talked to Philippa, for example, and asked her the same question about economy and terrorism, and we're inundated with fear mongering. They want us to buy guns.
Mm-hmm.
They want us to arm ourselves against everybody except us, meaning that people who look like me.
Mm-hmm.
We're turning into fiefdoms over here. I don't see that even in Mexico or Canada or England.
No, it's very tranquil here. We stream NPR sometimes just to kind of try to keep up a little bit, but honestly, my only news sources are Facebook and NPR if we happen to turn it on. And part of me feels like that's irresponsible or something, but honestly, it's delightful.
Yeah.
I love it. I love not knowing every little thing that's going on.
Yeah.
Because what's the point, really? Like, if I can't do anything to really make change happen, then it's just negative.
Yep.
And people here are living for today, and it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The only news that I really want to participate in is the daily lives of people who I love. So like when you say Facebook, it's not. I'm not really there for the articles and I'm there for people who I know and who I like.
Yeah.
And all the rest of it is, I mean, you can't prove any of it anyway. It's somebody's got an idea and they're just putting it down. And you just don't know what to believe. And so after a while, I mean, I've kind of stopped. I've even turned off NPR on the drive into work. Now I listen to science podcasts. It's I'd rather like entertain my brain with ideas and thoughts and stuff rather than get angry at something that, like you said, that you can't do anything about anyway.
Yeah, and a lot of times we'll be listening to it and we'll just kind of go, why are we listening to this? This isn't, It's nice for us, though, because it connects us to Missoula. We listen to Montana Public Radio. I mean, we love Montana. We love Missoula. I need to say that. We really, 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 really love it there, and we really miss our people there. Kind of the best of both worlds. And hope to spend more time.
I need to visit specifically Missoula because I've heard wonderful things about the University of Montana there.
Shree's become Moroccan now. Yeah,
well, I changed hats.
I know, and when you were wearing the sombrero, you looked just so Mexican.
I know.
I was like, you're Mexican now, and now you're.
No. Sorry.
So it was awesome.
The nice thing about having this particular face is that I've been accused of being Southern Italian. I've been accused of being Mexican or Guatemalan. I've been accused of being Puerto Rican, and then of course I get the Indian, Pakistani, flavors. I don't care. I'm Chicagoan, honestly.
Yeah.
If you were to pick the first thing, who are you? Well, I'm Chicagoan, if you want to know. But I think it's about time we ask you some 20 questions.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're running out of time. You have to go read soon.
I gotta go read to people, but
my baby's probably gonna come up here.
Okay, so
I think she's here. Hi, Owen. He wants to say hi to you. Okay, look.
Come on, Owen. Owen, long time no see, buddy.
Ow! Sorry.
Go your head.
Ow. Do you remember Street? We saw him in Chicago. Okay. Hang on just a second. Owie, I hurt my foot. I'm sorry. I'm almost done, Steve. Is it be okay? Yeah, she's okay.
Okay.
So are you gonna?
I'm okay.
Are you rolling the dice, Shree?
I'm only
roll the number cube.
Okay.
Number cube.
The first cube is this number cube here, and it'll tell me how many questions I get to ask you.
Okay.
So I'm gonna roll the dice. I'm gonna show you. That's the number cube, right? There you go.
Yep.
There it is. All right. And I'm gonna roll it. And the number is 4.
Awesome.
I get to ask you 4 questions.
Okay.
4. Hi, Owen. How nice to see you. And now I've got a list of 20 questions. And in those 20 questions, I have this 20-sided die.
Uh-huh.
Dungeons and Dragons trick. And I've numbered them 1 to 20, or Cameron and I have numbered them 1 to 20.
Okay.
And they're on my other screen here. And I will roll the dice and ask you a question. The first question of 4, number 11. Number 11 is beer, wine, or other, and what is the other and why? If you had a choice.
If I had a choice, I'd say wine.
And why? And not only why, but what kind of wine are we talking about? Because there are all sorts of flavors involved.
Well, it would have to be red.
Mm.
And I'm not too picky about which kind, but probably not a Merlot.
Not a Merlot. Okay.
But other than that, yeah, Vino Tinto.
And obviously that's something that's local strain, I hope. Always buy local when you get a chance.
Yeah, this is Chilean.
Close. At this point, according to the United States, it's all local.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Chilean, Mexican, they're
all down there somewhere.
I like how warm and fuzzy wine is.
It gets okay. No, I can't ask that question. Not with her.
Why can't you ask me that question?
Because it doesn't make sense.
Oh, okay.
Really? What? What? Boxers?
Boxers or briefs? Come on.
Well, I mean, there's different ways that you can.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, she can enjoy them in different ways.
Well, okay, you can answer that if you want to, but I'm going to ask you this one. If you were an app on your smartphone, what app would you be and why? In detail.
Oh, that's a bad question because I'm just not a tech person at all. I'm an artist, man. What app would I be?
Bouncing around? Is he bouncing around? I love it.
Yeah, he's bouncing around. I don't know.
You'd be an art filter.
Boxers.
Okay. I was about to go back to it anyway. Boxers and why?
They're just less embarrassing.
Boxers are less embarrassing? For women?
Maybe it's
okay.
Maybe I'm taking on my no. I'm not talking about for me, right?
Well, the whole idea was boxers or briefs.
For me?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you could
interpret that question any way you want, but
yeah, you could. I mean, if you're talking about for
Mark,
yeah, then that's fine too.
All I know is
on him.
My husband only wears briefs when he's running, and the rest of the time he wears boxers.
No.
And if for some reason he was all out of his boxers and he had to wear his briefs, he's kind of sheepish and embarrassed about it. So that's where my perception comes from.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally understandable.
What do you think? Boxers or briefs?
Are you asking? You're asking Owen.
Yeah, he doesn't have an opinion.
Yeah. Honestly, neither do I, because him and I are both freeballing right now. So it's all. Yeah, I said it on podcast. I don't care. Number 18.
Never mind.
Who is your celebrity crush and why?
Wait, what? Which?
Who is your celebrity crush?
Oh, this is easy.
And why?
Okay. Ewan McGregor.
Mm.
You guys know him?
Oh yeah.
No, I have a blog called Train Spotting, for Christ's sake. Are you serious?
Okay.
And he's on Star Trek or Star Wars, and we're
Oh, dude, you just blast. You have to edit that shit out now.
Why?
You just
not Star Trek, Star Wars.
That's right.
He's on Star Wars. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So being the nerds we are, we have to know that kind of thing.
Like.
Well, I didn't really know what movies he was in or really care about that until I watched the documentary series Long Way Round and Long Way Down.
Sure.
Have you heard of that?
Yes.
Oh. So it's him and his buddy, and they ride their motorcycles around the world in the first series. And then they ride them from Scotland down to South Africa in the second series. And he's so cute in that serious. He's so cute. I think even my husband had a crush on him.
Though if I were to have a crush on you, McGregor, it wouldn't have been for that or for Star Wars.
Which one?
Actually, it would be. There was a movie he was in where it was called, I think, Big Fish or something like that.
Yeah.
Fish Tales or something. It was a really like heartwarming story about an old man telling his life story before he dies, and it's all flashback material, and Ewan McGregor plays him as a young man.
He was in that?
Yeah, it was Big
And
Fish.
yeah, and Big Fish, thank you. And it's all about getting to that kind of ultimate story. And it's just so well done, and McGregor really just pulls out some really good feel-good acting in that.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
You know, that's where I fell in love with him personally.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was question number 3.
That was 3.
Okay.
We have one more question before the Owen there bites your ear off. And I lost the die. Hold on a minute. I rolled too far away. Okay. That's not it. That's number 11. Yeah, I don't like that one. No, I just don't like it. I like this question, and especially for you. What is the oldest object you currently own, or possess, or are responsible for? And describe in detail.
Oldest object?
Yeah.
Object.
Oh, this is easy.
Tell me.
I have a baby blanket that my mother made for me when I was a baby
Yes.
that I brought with me to Sayulita for India.
Oh, wow.
So the baby blanket that you had when you were a kid is now your kids' baby blanket?
Yeah, she doesn't use it anymore, but I used it when she was a newborn, and it's from 1974.
Outstanding!
Wow.
That's a story. That's
Yeah.
the best story I've heard to date.
Because, honestly, because of living here and all that, if it weren't for the baby blanket, I wouldn't have anything old to tell you about. Like, it's not like we live in our house with our artifacts and our antiques and all that.
And that's kind of the reason why I want to ask it, because you're, unlike Cameron and I, we sort of have established places.
Yeah.
You know. And I've only recently parted with junk that I didn't want to care about, and then there are things that I still care about. These dragon dice, for example, date back to 1981. You know.
What?
But to hear a story from somebody in transition.
Hello?
Oh, speaking of which, we got a transitioner here.
Okay.
Hello?
You back? There you go. Stand right there. And that's Owen over there. Owen's in the corner.
No, they can't. Oh.
This is Amit. Amit, that's Owen, and that's Melissa.
I know.
Now he's hiding too.
My guy doesn't want to hide. He wants to get closer.
Oh, here we go. Oh, yes, I'm allowed. No.
Oh, I can't be careful. Okay,
Seriously?
no, but I can fix it. Hold on a minute. Hold on. There's technology, son. You have to stand still, though. That's the thing. If you want to be seen, you have to, like, there we go. There's your head. Okay, so now we've got to scoot down. There you go. There, I see you.
Hi.
That's Amit.
Are you going to wear the sombrero?
Ow, ow, ow,
You know what it's about, son?
I don't know what it is.
I'll get it for you.
I don't want to wear that thing.
Why don't you want to? Okay, it was fast.
No.
Oh, it's- Aren't you just a punk? I don't want to wear that thing.
How old are you? Let me guess. 9?
No. 8.
And your brother is
28.
9,
9.
right?
Yeah, they are 60 seconds apart.
Whoa. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Are you guys best friends, or do you kind of not like each other?
Most of the time, he likes to beat me up more. And
Look at the camera, man. I took care of
he
that.
likes to beat me up more.
Yeah? So you guys like each other?
The question has nothing to do with beatings. It has everything to do with like him or not.
Not so much.
Not so much because he like beats you up all the time.
Yeah.
Oh.
Pretty much.
But he doesn't do that all the time.
Yeah, not all the time.
No. Sometimes you guys snuggle?
Recently it's been, they're having growing pains, and so they're comforting each other.
Oh, really?
With gentle beatings.
No, not quite. We'll see them awake in the same bed. Like
That's
early in the
awesome.
morning.
And
That's
also,
right.
I'm not really going to sleep nowadays.
Yeah, he
No.
wakes up all the time. This one.
Yeah, because of the growing pains.
So you mean literal growing pains, like your bones hurt.
Well, they mostly hurt in my ankles,
Mm.
and then sometimes they hurt in my knee, my bad knee.
You have a bad knee. You're not. You can't have a bad knee.
That one.
It doesn't count. You can't have a bad. You scratched your knee biking. That's not a bad knee.
But I have like the ligament thing.
Okay, it's time to go. I'll get. I'll be up
I
there in a minute.
twisted ligaments.
I know. Twist your ligaments later. Go on. That comedic relief was brought to you by Ben Gay. Ben Gay.
Oh. Things have
You better
changed.
get some sort of endorsement for this one, Cameron.
Things have changed since the rack of the tea cows, huh?
Yeah.
No, I'm still as infantile as they are.
Well, I mean, there is that.
Yeah. It's just funny to think about how things were the last time we probably all saw each other.
Yeah, yeah. In certain company, the language is a little different. The topics are a little different.
Perhaps.
I think that
Have you been back for homecoming since you graduated?
Say what?
Have you been back for homecoming since you graduated?
I think the first year. I haven't been since, really. I went back to Knox to look at Eric's memorial.
Mm-hmm.
But really, that was pretty much it. I'm planning on going this year because
Oh,
it's my 20th.
Wait.
wow.
And you're 1995, right?
Me?
He's 94,
I'm 94.
and I'm 96.
You're 96. Okay.
And I've
I
never
was
been
90.
back for homecoming.
So you would have been a sophomore when I graduated.
Yeah.
3, 4. Freshman or sophomore when I graduated.
Yeah. One of my first memories of you, Shri, was Columbus Day of my freshman year. You were running around telling everybody that they needed to go to the Knox Bowl and mine for gold. And
That was Brian Baggy's idea. He got me involved early on that. It was a beautiful idea. We effectively reenacted invading or Columbus discovering America by giving everyone an infection and buying the college from the president for $24 worth of beads.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember Chris Murray running up to the doors of Old Main, and he was wearing his wooden sword, and one of
Yeah.
them handed beads to the president, and I feel like there was a picture. It's like and I contacted Megan Scott about that to see if she had that picture, or maybe I don't know. But
I feel like there's a picture too.
of him actually handing the president the beads.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can't find it. But yeah, that was awesome. That was an incredible time.
Mm-hmm.
It was. I was in the thick of it, and it was fun. I endeavor, in the restrictions that I have because of the work that I do and the life that I lead now.
Uh-huh.
I try to break them as often as possible without getting caught. I try to break the sociological or the social rules as much as I can without getting caught.
So Melissa, the last couple years, I mean, after I left, what happened? I mean, did you guys hang out at the teak house as much, or because I remember you guys were also hanging out at the Feidel's house a lot, and
Well, I was. I don't know who else was.
what?
I was hanging out at the Feidel's house. I don't know who else was.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
In your junior and senior year, did you end up kind of focusing on different things on your work, or hanging out at the house less, or?
I really don't remember. I feel like it became more about Williston, like senior year Williston, because Liz and Cheryl, I think, and Monica maybe? I don't know. I don't remember who all lived in Williston. And then Piani and, yeah. Anyway, there were people living in Williston. And then Philip and I and Ellen Landers and Liam, we were all living in a house.
Okay.
And
Yeah. I remember that guy.
I don't remember a lot for some funny reason.
Acting weird.
Said that I'm acting weird.
Uh-huh.
Anyway,
Okay.
you know what happened my senior year? Maybe you guys don't know about this.
Okay. Probably
My
not.
senior year, I was a ceramics major, right?
Okay.
And we had always been told by Henry Joe, if you do a firing, because the kiln is inside the building, you should not take a nap in the ceramic studio or you might die. You might not wake up. And so that was just the kind of rule, right? Like, go in there, do the firing, but don't go to sleep. Well, I went in there and did the firing all day long. Like, I went in there first thing in the morning, and security had closed all the windows overnight for security.
Mm-hmm.
We had them open for ventilation.
Yeah.
And so I went in there, and it was probably full of carbon monoxide, and then I worked in the studio all day long. I opened the windows, but I was still in the studio all day long working. And I remember people were like Sue and Leslie Cody. A few people were like, let's go take a break, let's go outside. And I was like, no, I'm really into what I'm doing right now. I just want to work. And I got carbon monoxide poisoning. And I went to bed that night, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. And
wow.
Like, felt like my body was rising up off of the bed first. And it terrified me. And so I ran into Philippa's bedroom, and I crawled into bed with her. And by this point, it was the middle of the night, and she was like, what are you doing? And I didn't know. Like, one of the symptoms is that you're disoriented, and you don't really understand what's happening. But I just held on to her, and I fell asleep telling myself, you can't die, you can't die, you can't die, you can't die. And I woke up the next morning, and I was like, oh my God, I'm alive. And so I went to the cafeteria, and I had my breakfast, and I looked down at my food, and I didn't want to eat it. I was really, really sick from the carbon monoxide, but I didn't know it. And that changed my life. Like, that literally overnight changed my life. I didn't want to have anything in my lungs other than oxygen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
And my friends, like Liz and Philippa and whoever else, they were like, wow, you're like a total nerd now. Because I went from, one way, so different way.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It took me
Yeah.
20 years to get out of that way into another way. So,
Yeah.
and that's 3 years ago. So I feel you.
Yeah. So it was a really big deal, and it was kind of a negative thing in a lot of ways. Like they tore down the kiln and had to rebuild the kiln, and there was a new ceramics professor because Henry Joe retired, and so, maybe I don't know. It was just a weird time.
Did you go to a doctor or anything? Have it verified?
I went to a doctor a few days later, and a few days later, when they tested my blood, they said, your blood is basically the same as if you were a highway construction worker.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and that was a few days later.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was so out of it. I went to breakfast that day, tried to sit down and eat my breakfast, realized I was really sick, but I was so disoriented and truly didn't make the connection to what was going on. But then I kind of started to make the connection, and I wandered into Dean Bailey's office and basically like broke down in his office and was like, I think I've got carbon monoxide poisoning from the ceramic studio. And right in that moment, when I'm sitting in his office telling him this, a frisbee golfer threw a frisbee through his window and broke his window. And he goes, great, now there's oxygen in here. It was crazy. And so within 24 hours, the president of the school called me at home and asked if he could go get me ice cream or if there was anything he needed. Yeah.
I had not heard that story. That's a good one. And it sounds like it really changed you.
It did, for better or for worse, I don't know if the
it's just change,
Yeah.
It's like something strikes you, and then I had a few of those moments at Knox too. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember going to a party up in Chicago at Ross's house.
Yeah.
Shortly after this happened, and I spent the entire party with my head out the window because everyone was smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
The party,
Uh-huh.
and I couldn't stand it. And yeah. So.
Wow.
Anyway.
Well,
Yeah.
this has been a great 2 hours chatting.
We can just go on.
I'm so glad you could do this. This was incredible.
Thanks, Cameron. I almost bagged it too.
You almost what?
I almost canceled on you.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it's meant to be fun. It's meant to be fun. So if everybody's gonna,
I had a great time.
I did too.
So.
And it's great.
So,
and it's great hearing all of these stories. It's like I don't know a lot of them. And I'm getting this echo. Are you guys hearing an echo?
a little bit. It's the internet having a freak out.
Yeah, it's saying too long, you guys. So, but I've really enjoyed connecting with people like this because I don't know, it's just like this time where you can just sit back and reflect and think and go, wow, and kind of it coalesces, and you can kind of get this narrative going in your own head that it's almost like reconnecting everything, finishing the circle.
Totally.
So.
What do you mean?
And yeah.
I'm glad you guys.
But from my perspective, Melissa, after seeing you at the station in Chicago, I've been keeping an eye on you and Mark, and I am just thoroughly enamored by the decisions that you make and the successes that you make past them. In other words, how you actually move forward and take care of the business that you need to take care of amazes me to no end. how you're raising your children and how you are just taking care of your life. I'm jealous. I'm jealous too. And I'm not reading your blog and all that. I'm watching it in real time. I love it. I love it.
That's really nice to hear.
And,
Really.
and I am so happy for you and Mark. I am so happy for young Owen there, who I'm seeing his mess of hair to your left. I love it. I love it. And I wish you all the very best. Every time I see you, every stoller that I scream on Facebook is a shout out to you and to your husband and your kids. Every time.
Thanks, Sri.
This is why I have him on here, because he's much more he's a better talker. He talks good. I can't put together.
I'm the talk bitch of the group.
He's
man, there's a kid in the room. I'm sorry.
He gives this some credibility. He makes it nice.
Yeah, but I could be not as good looking as you, sir.
We can't have everything. So.
I mean, look at this, the hair. There's nothing left. There's some sort of there's a trench leading to an exhaust port straight to the nuclear reactor right there. This is the Death Star run right here.
Well, it's been awesome, you guys.
Well, thanks for coming on and chatting. It was great reconnecting, and we're I'm gonna definitely pay attention after reading your blog and everything. I'm just amazed at how you've faced your fears and have just really tackled your life in this way. It's like, like I said before, it's like wonderful and terrifying at the same time, and I'm like Sri said, I'm just gonna watch you guys doing what you're doing, because it's so cool.
I couldn't agree more. It's wonderful and it's terrifying.
Well, good luck.
Thank
Best
you.
of luck to you.
Thank you, you guys.
Okay,
Bye,
so
Owen, nice to see you again.
Buenos noches.
Buenos noches.